Dad knew all about dynamite, how to work it. He said the way to set it off was you get a blasting cap. And now they have electric chargers that instead of fuses, they have electric charges where they that set off the blasting cap. But at that time, we had blasting caps, and it looks like a little 22 shell, and you put the fuse in. The fuse is kind of like a tar-based powder thing you put in there, and when you light it, it looks like a sparkler going off and moves down at a certain speed. And if you make a cut in the fuse and bend it a little bit, when it goes down, it flashes out right there. And so if you were going to set off 3 charges and you had 3 separate fuses, the first fuse you would set it for 3 minutes. The second fuse you would set for 2 minutes, and the third fuse you would set for 1 minute. And it's a certain length. You know how many inches burns in a minute. So then you cut notches in the fuse that are the same lengths as the fuses you have. So the first, if you can't light the fuse, then skip it and go on to the next one, because then you'll be behind, and you'll still be down there when the first charge goes off. And so that's how old miners used to do it. And you'd crimp the cap around the fuse to keep it in, otherwise it'd just be loose. And he always used to crimp it with his teeth, so that's what I did too. I put it in a crimp it without the pliers in, because it was like an aluminum cap. So when we were children, a lot of Mom and Dad's friends had cabin. Some had a cabin in Pine Valley. It was kind of they'd go up and take a weekend and go up to the Pine Valley Mountain and the Tiny Pine Valley up towards the campground. They had some cabins, and Mom and Dad were thinking about they would like to have a cabin up there so that they'd have their own place to stay instead of having to stay with the other people. And so there came some lots available up there. Someone did a subdivision, quote unquote, and they went and looked at the lots, and there was this one lot that had kind of up on a mound, had a lot of rocks and stuff, and not too would be kind of tough to make a building site, and so they were selling that one for a lot less than the rest of them. And that's the one he bought, because he knew how to get rid of those rocks. And we would have weekends that he and I and Ken lots of times would go up there with picks and big bars and stuff. And we first he laid out a plot plan where to put the cabin, and then a driveway how to get up to it, because I think it was like about an acre or an acre and a half piece of property. Then we got to where there were some big tough rocks, and he says, well, we'll just have to blast these out. So he asked Uncle Keith, his brother, who lived in Santa Clara, to go and see if he could get him a couple of cases of dynamite and some caps and some fuse. Well, Uncle Keith went to the hardware store, bought two cases of dynamite and caps and fuses, and Dad went and picked them up. And so he said, well, Ken and I were always trying to get out of going up to Pine Valley to build the road and stuff, because it's pretty hard labor. But when I heard that he had dynamite, I wanted to go really bad. So did Ken, but he had some other commitment. So Dad and I went up there, and he showed me how to set up the things. We put it between 2 rocks, and it would kick the rock out, and it was really quite effective. And then there was one great big rock, and they said, well, what do you think, Clark? We need to move this. It's right in the way. We just have to move it over to the side. And it was a rock about as big as a desk. Well, maybe not quite that big, but it was really big. There's no way we could pry it up with our pry bars or anything like that. And we had a whole set of pry bars and all kinds of other stuff. to we put it in our van when we went up there. And I said, well, if we put 3 or 4 sticks right here at the bottom on this side, a little bit off to the side, it should just flip the rock right over. And I said, you think so? And I said, yeah. He said, okay. So I dug out underneath there and we put 3 or 4 sticks of dynamite in there, kind of clump them all together. It's kind of soft and has cardboard. It's in a cardboard tube. It's a thin cardboard tube. And we put a cap in there, and he says, well, that's going to be quite the blast. We better get back every time we'd set one off, we'd go over a little hill and kind of look behind a rock or something, and watch it go off. And so this time we went about twice as far away, and boom, the thing went off, and we said, oh man, I was thinking, all right, good. Don't have to worry about that rock anymore. I went over there. The rock didn't move. What it did was the blast went against the rock, and since the rock was heavier than the dirt and underneath, it just blew out dirt underneath it and settled the rock in further. It was really disappointing. And Dad said, that's what I thought would happen. For that to flip the rock over, you'd have to have another bigger rock underneath because it always pushes against whatever. That's why they drill holes and they'll put 3 or 4 sticks of dynamite in a long hole. Then it cracks the rocks open because it's trying to expand really fast. But if you throw a piece of dynamite, light piece of dynamite, throw it on the ground, it's just gonna make a big noise. It won't dig a big hole or anything. This dug a pretty good hole because there was a big rock on top of it. So I said, boy, how are we going to move this rock? And he says, well, I brought some stuff. We can move it. Now what is he thinking of, We're going to chip it into little pieces or something. And he went and got 4 2x4s. And we made those the railroad tracks. And we went to the downhill side and set it up. He says, we're going to just move it that far. But we had to move, it was about 10 feet, but to get it out of the way. And then he had a big, not a big sheet, like about a half a sheet of plywood, pretty thick plywood, and our big levers our picks and stuff and lever. And so we both got on one side and put rocks and levered one side of the rock up, and he kind of held it and we kind of kicked the plywood underneath it, then did it again, and as we were putting the plywood underneath, he would shove the 2x4s. It was most of my job because he weighed more than I did. It's mostly my job to put the 2x4s under it. He had some pipes, put the pipes first with the rock, then the plywood, then the pipe, then the 2x4s under everything. And we got it, and it was mostly underneath there. We dug some of it out to get it in there too. And so then he levered the back of it and the thing moved. And we got fully up on the 2x4s and it was rolling along, and then it was the end of the 2x4s, and we'd take the pipes out of the back that would come out, and I'd run around and put them in front. And it would just keep rolling. And then he says, oh, and we had to put the other 2x4s end to end so that it kept rolling. It wasn't rolling away, but we were pushing it and levering it and everything else, but it was moving. And then I had to bring the other 2x4s, put them in front of the other ones. It was like a Chinese fire drill or something, you couldn't have done it very fast, but had to line it up exactly, and we got that rock moved out of there. That took the whole day to do that.